What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. And well, we're starting to get some information about what the Republicans want to cut from the budget of the government to prevent our country from defaulting in their negotiations with the Democrats. This is big news because they need to do this to prevent the government from defaulting and to make sure that Social Security payments continue to go out, payments to the military and bond interest payments to all of our debts. And we're just trying to get some information. I'll show you here. The Republicans have finally started to give us some details of what they want to cut. And where do you think it's going to come from? Well, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of it is going to come from average, everyday Americans' pockets. Yeah, I'm going to give you all the details of it in this video. You didn't think it was going to come from anywhere else, did you? I'll show you the details right here on the screen. Remember, I'm not from either party. I'm just literally all about the truth, and that's why I'm going to show it to you here on the screen. And the source is Bloomberg News, and they're not really Republican or Democrat either. And this is actually a Republican plan. So this comes directly from the Republican National Committee, RNC. So let's jump right in. If you like the truth, and this is what the Republicans are proposing right now. And you can let me know if you think this is good, think this is bad, if you're for this, against this, or not. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos. I'm all about the truth, and this is why I like to show you guys the stuff directly on the screen so you know it's true. I'm not making this stuff up, and that's why I like to show you this. Thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos so more people can see this and hear this. All right, here we go. Let's jump right in. All right, just to give you a quick catch up to speed, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we've already passed our debt limit for right now. It's $31.4 trillion, and the government cannot print any more money or borrow any more money as of right now until Congress agrees to raise the debt limit. Okay. And right now we're basically living off the government's checking accounts and what the government brings in off tax revenues and stuff like that. The problem is the government runs a deficit. So we're slowly dwindling down what's basically in the government checking accounts. And we have been for many, many years, no matter who's the president, Republican or Democrat. Okay. So we're going to run out of money. It's expected by basically early June. Okay. So we're down to like 100 days or less at this point, maybe. I don't know. I haven't done the math here in the last few days. So, and if that happens, your Social Security checks won't go out, your Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, pretty much everything. I mean, so there's, military payments, government payments, anybody who works for the government. I mean, we're talking about tens of millions of people here that have different sort of bond interest payments, the full faith and credit of the government, a lot of different things. And Republicans have said that they will not raise the debt limit. It's like half of the Senate and a whole bunch of Democrats, or a whole bunch of Republicans, sorry, in the House, that they will not raise the debt limit unless there's massive cuts to the budget, because basically we're running a massive deficit. We have been for a while. Remember, former President Donald Trump ran about $8 trillion deficit in his 4 years, and Biden's going to run who knows how much of a deficit. We won't really know until his 4 years is up, but we're running a deficit, okay? And the Republicans have finally given us some information of what kind of cuts they want. Yeah, and you can see here, House Republicans offered cuts that they would back in a deal for the debt limit. Now, right now, the Democrats have said, well, we're not going to deal at all. You should just raise the debt limit, because you raised the debt limit 3 times for former President Donald Trump in his 4 years. The debt limit went up more than any other president in the last 4 years under his presidency, almost about $8 trillion. And this is about paying our previous debts. But nonetheless, Republicans are saying, no, we want cuts. Here's what they're saying. Republicans on the House Budget Committee on Wednesday floated a list of sample budget cuts that they could cut back in exchange for raising the nation's debt ceiling. And Democrats are going to absolutely lose their mind when they see almost all of this stuff. Um, so this is going to be a problem because nobody's going to be happy. The Democrats aren't going to be happy, at least, about this. The tentative list put out by Committee Chairman Jody Arrington of Texas could form the basis of an eventual proposed accord to avoid a market rattling U.S. default sometime this summer. Again, basically by the beginning of June, they have to have this done and signed and completely negotiated and agreed upon for this to happen. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is hoping to meet President Biden as soon as this week to continue talks on raising the $31.4 trillion U.S. limit, which was reached in January. We're already past that. Biden, in a State of the Union address on Tuesday, vowed to prevent any default, but Republicans and Democrats are nowhere close to even having an agree. He also lambasted some Republicans for proposing to terminate Social Security and Medicare unless reauthorized by Congress, which has been proposed by Republican Senator Rick Scott and Ron Johnson in the past. It's actually true. You can look it up. In fact, Rick Scott actually stood by his ground. I'll cover that probably here in the next video here. House Republicans in their press release called on the White House to join the GOP in coming up with bipartisan solutions to prevent insolvency in the Social Security and Medicare Trust Fund, which are projected to hit funding crises in 2035 and 2028, respectively. So you can see here, this one is only 5 years away in 2035. There's another CBO, Congressional Budget Office report that says that Social Security could run out of money as soon as 2033, which is 10 years from now. Quote, Democrats should stop preying on the fears of seniors by accusing Republicans of cutting Social Security and Medicare and instead work with us on bipartisan solutions to address their insolvency, this press release says. The only ways to avoid the benefit cliffs are to raise taxes, which the GOP has ruled out, curb benefits, restrict eligibility, or in the case of Medicare, curb health care costs. Yeah, so you can let me know your thoughts on this. Arrington is beginning the process of assembling a budget outline that he hopes can pass in the House in April. His press release outlines hundreds of billions of dollars of potential savings for a debt ceiling deal. While substantial, the savings would likely fall short of the goal of cutting spending by $1 for every $1 increase in the debt ceiling over a 2-year period, which means when you see this list, there could be even more cutting coming forward. The chairman said he hasn't yet run the proposals by Kevin McCarthy as possible offers to Biden in the talks. But remember, he's from the Republican Budget Committee, and that's basically where this stuff comes from. People keep asking me to identify cuts, and this was to show them I can immediately come up with some common sense cuts off the top of my head. This cut includes potentially bipartisan ideas like improper payments and frauds in the food stamp program, which would mean cutting food stamps from millions of people, clawing back $100 billion in unspent coronavirus funds. That's there's about $500 billion of unspent stimulus money still out there in various departments. And we'll get to the full list here in just about a second. Other ideas are likely to meet greater Democratic opposition. These include stronger work requirements for able-bodied adults on food stamps and welfare. So this would be stronger work requirements. How they would decide who is able-bodied and who is not would be undetermined, I guess, at this time. But ultimately, this would mean less money for people on food stamps and welfare. And remember that I think it's over 50% of people on food stamps are seniors, on people in retirement. Yeah, and I believe the other large portion of people on food stamps are children. just so people are aware of that. Capping Obamacare subsidies at lower income levels. So, again, we're talking about taking away money from the poor for healthcare, as if our healthcare system wasn't a complete shambles. Now they're talking about taking away healthcare subsidies for lower income people, and rescinding the Biden student loan forgiveness program, which, I mean, again, if they put up enough of a fight, they could literally force this to potentially happen. Again, that's 40 million Americans, both Republicans and Democrats, fall into all these categories: food stamps, seniors, children, welfare, Obamacare subsidies. This is basically low income peoples, Republicans and Democrats. Um, yeah, so basically, here is the whole list right here. $404 billion from student loans. So again, Republicans and Democrats, everybody falls in these categories. $281 billion from improper payments made by federal agencies. We don't know what that really entails at this point. I don't know. We'll have to see, but that could basically mean a lot of money coming back from average everyday Americans for who knows what. Who knows what, but they could be trying to take money back from people for, I don't know, $100 billion. I'll try to leave that there here. $100 billion for unspent COVID funds. We don't know exactly where that's going to come from yet. $87 billion from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. So that would basically mean, uh, you know, less less strict standards for our environment. $70 billion from reducing food stamps and child tax credits. Now they mentioned fraud here, but I don't know how they're going to figure that out or whatnot. I mean, you would think if they knew child tax credit fraud that would already be stopped here. But now remember here that they just reduced food stamps for half the states. Um, I'm blinded here. Remember here that food is at an all-time high right now. And remember that the vast majority of food stamps goes to seniors and children. Yeah, people on Social Security and children. You combine those two, it's the vast majority of food stamps. And remember that food is at an all-time high right now. And they want to reduce this. Now remember, I'm not on food stamps, but my heart just bleeds for these people, for you guys watching this that are on this. I know a large part of our community gets food stamps and are already crushed by the loss of this. Is happening in February. It's the last month for the pandemic food stamp program that's ending. It's an extra $95 a month per family in about half the states. The other half of the states basically said that they didn't care and ended it previously, and are now going to be ending this here for the rest of the people. And Congress ended this basically in December. They voted on this and didn't want to include it in the budget because they don't want to spend the money. Basically, don't want to spend the money on average everyday people. But when you think about this, just not a few months ago, they spent 250 billion. I'll get back to that list here in a second. They spent $250 billion on corporations for like corporations like Nvidia and Intel and largely profitable corporations for chips. And said, oh, it's for competing with China. Remember, these corporations all make billions and billions and billions of dollars. But when it comes to poor people eating and affording food, people that make $800 a month, $700 a month, less than $1,000 a month, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. But corporations that already make billions and billions of dollars, oh yeah, we have billions of dollars more for them. So just remember that's what Congress voted for here. And again, the CHIPS bill was actually approved by Republicans and Democrats. So I'm not choosing sides here. I'm just literally telling you guys the truth here. This is what happens. This is what Congress votes for. And remember that the sad thing about this is that every time Congress comes up for re-election, 95% of Congress gets re-elected every single time. Okay, so yeah, they're going to reduce food stamps, potentially even more. The Democrats are going to hate this, by the way. They're going to reduce child tax credits even more because remember that even though the enhanced child tax credits, the $3,000 to $3,600 is going away because they haven't been able to pass that, it's still $2,000 a year. So they could reduce that even more, by the way. Yeah, so $65 billion less from lower Obamacare subsidies, which is only for poor people, by the way, guys. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you thought they were taking away money from, you know, I don't know what they're taking most of this money away from people, Okay, this is coming away from people. Again, I know this is some people are controversial about this, but this is coming away from people. I don't know what this is coming from. We don't know either. We don't know what this is coming away from. $87 billion from the EPA. I don't know. So that's basically the environment. This is $70 billion coming away from people. Again, $65 billion coming from people, poor people. $13 billion from certain green vehicles. I don't know exactly what this means, but this could just be subsidies from people who buy them. So again, this could just be from people. Again, 10 million from legal assistance for migrants. Now note here that this is million, not billion. So this is literally a fraction of almost nothing. It's not going to make, if it's not billion, if it says million, it doesn't make a dent in our budget. It doesn't mean hardly anything. So I get that, like, yeah, this is, legal assistance for migrants, but since it's million and not billion, it really doesn't make a dent in anything. Okay. Also, $6.6 million from woke projects. We don't know what woke projects are, but again, it's million, not billion. So that it's almost not even worth mentioning these things because it's a fraction of 1 billion. So keep that in mind. Also, tens of billions of dollars from reinstating work requirements in welfare programs such as food stamps. So again, they're going to take even more money from poor people for reinstating work requirements in welfare programs such as food stamps. So again, you got to remember here that like people that like maybe have multiple children and like stay home because it costs more money to uh put their kids in daycare than to actually go and work. This is going to cost them even more money because again, you look at the cost of things like childcare, it's thousands and thousands of dollars to put your one kid in childcare a year. And now they're going to potentially have work requirements, which again, Democrats are going to hate. I'm not choosing sides here. It's just the reality of this thing. And it just doesn't make fiscally responsible sense for say a woman who's watching like 3 kids at home and maybe the father goes to work or something like that to go to work because she would lose money with the cost of childcare in a lot of areas or almost every single area. So the problem is the Democrats are going to absolutely just blow their lids here when they see some of this stuff or all this stuff. So they're not going to want to pass this and they're going to come at a standstill. And you know what's going to happen here is we're going to get closer and closer to a default. And what's going to happen? If we actually default, our economy goes kaboom, our stock market goes kaboom, your pension, your 401k, your IRA, your retirement funds go kaboom, if you even have any. Remember, about 50% of people retire with 401ks and pensions and IRAs, and the other 50% of people don't. If not, if we actually default, our dollar is going to collapse and everything. Yeah. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel because I'm going to keep you up to date here with this. And in the next video, I'm going to show you what they're saying here about Social Security and Medicare because they're saying it's off the table, but it might not really be off the table because they've just introduced some bills that say, well, it's not really off the table for cuts on that either. Yeah, and I'll show it to you on the screen. That's all part of my channel is just showing you this stuff so you get to see it here. That's how I tell the truth, to show you guys the details so you guys can see it with your own two eyes. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And are you for this stuff or against this stuff? And we'll see what happens here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos with anybody that needs to see this information. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's some videos you can watch next. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And here's a brand new video about a new Social Security Act of 2023 to raise benefits by $2,400. That's right. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.